Story 1. It started 3 months ago, the same night I missed my train and had to walk home in the rain. I remember every detail. The shoes I wore, the music I was playing, even the sandwich I ate standing in the kitchen, soaked and shivering. That night was the first time I had the dream. In it, I was sitting in a room I didn't recognize. 4 gray walls. No windows. 1 door. A bare light bulb swinging above my head, humming softly. The air smelled like mildew and copper. I couldn't move. Not out of fear. Physically, I couldn't move. My arms were heavy, my legs didn't respond. I was frozen in place. And I wasn't alone. He stood just outside the light. I couldn't see his face, not fully. Just the edge of a coat, a pair of shoes, and a voice. Not loud, not deep. Just calm and careful, like someone reading a bedtime story while holding their breath. "Do you see it yet?" he whispered. Then I woke up, covered in sweat, heart racing, unsure why I felt like I'd just escaped something I didn't even understand. The dream came back the next night, and the next. Same room, same smell, same light bulb, but each time there was more. The walls weren't just blank now. They had frames, photos. I couldn't move, but I could see better. They were blurry at first, black and white, like old surveillance stills. But the more I dreamed, the clearer they got. I started recognizing faces. One was a girl from my high school, Kayla. She went missing senior year. Her face was on the news for weeks, but they never found her. Another photo was a man I'd passed every day on my way to work. He used to sell magazines outside the coffee shop. Gone now. I hadn't thought about him in months. The dreams didn't feel like dreams anymore. They felt like visits, like something was bringing me there on purpose, showing me things I wasn't supposed to see. And every time, the man in the shadows would whisper the same thing. "Do you see it yet?" I started keeping a journal. I wrote everything down the moment I woke up. I thought maybe I could figure out what was triggering them. But there was no pattern, no food, no stress, no weather, just presence. Every night, like clockwork, I was back in that room. And then one night, there was a new photo. It was small, cracked in the corner. A woman in her 20s, standing in front of a bookstore. I didn't know her, not at first. But 2 days later, I saw her on the evening news. She'd gone missing outside her apartment. Same scarf, same coat, same face, same dead eyes. I went to the police. I showed them my journal. I told them what I'd seen. The detective nodded politely, told me it was probably trauma-induced hallucinations. I asked, what trauma? He said, sometimes it doesn't need a cause. He didn't believe me. None of them did. I started losing time. Sometimes I'd find myself standing in a room, unsure how I got there. I'd black out for minutes, hours. My phone would buzz with missed calls, texts I didn't remember sending. You okay? Where'd you go? Why'd you say that? I didn't have answers, just fear. And then, one night, I walked into the dream and everything changed. The room was darker. The light bulb flickered more violently. The photos were clearer. There were dozens now. People I'd seen. People I'd forgotten. People who were gone. And then, right in the middle of the wall across from me, was a photo I couldn't process. It was me, taken from behind, walking down my street, wearing the same coat I had on that night, the one that was still in my closet. And for the first time, the man in the corner stepped forward. I still couldn't see his face, just a blur, but his voice was sharper now. No whisper, just a statement. You're almost ready. I woke up screaming. I didn't sleep for days. I tried staying with friends, taking sleeping pills, drinking too much. Nothing helped. The dream would find me, over and over again. That same room, that same face, and that photograph on the wall. I stopped trying to convince people. I stopped talking about the dreams altogether. It wasn't just disbelief.it, was the look in their eyes. Like they were talking to someone unraveling, and maybe they were right. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was terrified of something that technically didn't exist, but I couldn't shake the feeling that all of it was leading somewhere, like breadcrumbs I didn't want to follow but couldn't ignore. Then, one night, I walked past an alley on my way home. Nothing unusual about it. Same cracked pavement, same chain link fence. But as I passed, I stopped. I don't know why. I just stopped. My feet wouldn't move. There was a metal door halfway down the alley I'd never noticed before. No sign, no graffiti, just gray and lifeless, like it had been erased from the world. My heart dropped. I recognized it. It was the door from the dream. I walked toward it. Every part of my body screamed at me to run, but I couldn't. I reached out, hand trembling, and turned the handle. It was unlocked. Inside, there were no lights, just a narrow hallway that led to a stairwell. I used my phone to see, but the further I walked, the more it felt like my phone was dimming on its own. The walls were concrete, cold, wet in places. I could hear the distant sound of dripping water, but nothing else. No voices, no movement, just silence thick enough to suffocate. At the bottom of the stairs was a door. I didn't need to open it to know what was behind it. I already knew. Still, I pushed it open. The room was exactly as I'd seen it every night for 3 months. 4 walls, 1 swinging light bulb, a cement floor, and the photographs. So many more now. Dozens, maybe hundreds, lining every wall. Some were old, faded, some looked brand new. I scanned them without meaning to. A man in a green hoodie, a child holding a balloon, a woman crying in a car, faces I'd never seen but now somehow knew, and mine, dead center. Same angle, same lighting, but different. It had been updated. My photo wasn't from the street anymore. It was from right now. Same shirt, same hair, same terrified expression, taken from the doorway. I turned around. There was no one there. Just a low humming sound, like the vibration of a speaker before it plays something awful. The bulb above me flickered and dimmed. I couldn't breathe. My lungs felt like they'd been replaced with sand. I backed away from the wall, heart pounding in my ears. And then I heard him. "You're ready now." The voice didn't come from the shadows. It came from inside me. I don't remember getting out. I don't remember the stairs, or the hallway, or pushing the door open. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in my apartment, the front door wide open, my phone at 3% battery, and blood on the bottom of my shoes. None of it made sense. I went back the next day with a friend. I told him I left something there. Just needed to grab it. I don't know what I expected, but the alley was gone. Replaced by a brick wall that didn't match the rest of the building. We walked the block twice. No door, no fence, no space for anything to have ever been there. I didn't dream that night, or the next, but the silence was worse. I could feel it hovering around me. The absence, like something that had been waiting finally got what it needed. And now it was just watching. I started seeing things. Reflections that didn't match. Footsteps that didn't echo. Pictures on my phone that I never took. One in particular haunts me. It's a photo of me, standing in the corner of my room, asleep, with my eyes open. I didn't take it, I don't know who did, but the caption under it says, "Thank you for visiting." And sometimes, in the middle of the night, when everything's quiet and the world forgets to breathe, I swear I hear that voice again, and I think I left the door open. Story 2. When we were kids, my younger sister Ava would wake up screaming almost every night. Not just whimpers or little kid nightmares. These were blood-curdling, full-body screams that shook the walls. She'd bolt upright in bed, eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent gasp before the sound finally broke loose. And it always happened at the exact same time. 3:12 a.m. Our parents wrote it off as night terrors. Doctors said she'd grow out of it. They gave her melatonin, adjusted her bedtime, and even tried some experimental sound therapy. Nothing helped. The screaming never stopped. And as we got older, it got worse. Ava started locking her bedroom door at night. She started pushing furniture in front of it. I asked her once why, and she said dead serious. Because he said he's almost through. I asked who. She said, the man on the floor. I thought she was messing with me, being dramatic. Kids do that. They hear things, they see shapes, and suddenly the shadows become monsters. But Ava didn't act like a kid pretending to be scared. She acted like someone who had seen something that ruined the idea of safety forever. One night, I stayed up playing video games too late and heard her screaming again. My parents weren't home. I ran to her room, but the door was locked. I could hear her thrashing, her bed slamming against the wall. I started pounding on the door, yelling for her to open it, but she didn't respond. Then I heard another voice. Low. Wrong. Not human. Whispering from inside the room, saying her name over and over again, like it was trying to remember how to say it right. The door creaked open by itself. I'll never forget what I saw. Ava was pinned to the bed, not by hands, but by her blanket, stretched tight like it had been pulled from underneath. Her body was arched, like something was dragging her down into the mattress. Her fingers clawed at the sheets. Her mouth was open, but no sound came out. And then I saw it. A hand. Gray. Wet looking. Emerging from the center of the bed like the fabric had turned to water. It was long and too thin, with fingers that bent the wrong way. It was wrapped around her ankle, slowly pulling. I ran in and grabbed her. The second I touched her, the room snapped back to normal. No hand. No noise. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. She had bruises on her wrists that looked like handprints. Our parents thought we made it up, thought we were having a shared hallucination, thought maybe I was just caught in one of her nightmares. But the next morning, I found something that made my stomach turn. Under her bed, where the frame met the wall, the carpet was torn up, ripped into long claw-like shapes. Not like an animal, like something trying to get out. We never talked about it again. Not for years, but the bruises came back. The screaming never stopped. And eventually, I started dreaming too. The first time I had the dream, I didn't even know I was asleep. It felt too real. I was back in our childhood home, but it was darker, smaller somehow, like the walls were leaning inward, and the air was thick, like syrup. I walked down the hallway to Ava's room. Her door was open. Inside, the room was completely black except for one thing, a red door in the center of the floor. It shouldn't have been there. It was just standing vertically in the middle of the room with no frame, no hinges, no explanation. But I knew instinctively that if I touched it, something would happen, something permanent. Then I heard the whisper, my name, not loud, not distant, right behind my ear. I turned around fast, but nothing was there, just the door. I woke up shaking. I didn't tell Ava at first. I didn't want to add fuel to whatever fire had been growing between us for years. But the next morning, over cereal, she looked at me and said, "Did you see it?" I said nothing. She didn't wait. The red door. I dropped my spoon. We talked about it that night. Really talked. For the first time since we were kids, she told me everything. She said the dream started before the screaming, before she even knew what dreaming was. The same figure, the same voice, the same door. And every year the voice would tell her more. Sometimes lies, sometimes secrets, but always one thing: he's waiting for you too. I asked why she never told anyone. She just stared at the floor and whispered, "Because he said if I did, you'd come faster." We went into the attic the next day, looking for anything that might explain it. Something old, some cursed object, some family story that made sense of any of it. We didn't find a haunted doll or a book of spells. We found drawings, stacks of them, stuffed into old notebooks and binders and between the pages of our dad's textbooks. All of them were drawn in crayon and pencil. Most were childlike, sloppy, but they were all the same. A tall, black figure, a red door, and two kids, always two. One standing, one lying on the floor. One had her face, the other, mine. I was too scared to ask who drew them. A week later, she disappeared. No broken windows. No sign of forced entry. Her bed was made. The phone is on the charger. The closet door opened just slightly, but on the mattress, burned into the fabric, was a handprint. Not ink, not soot, a real burn, shaped like a hand. The fingers were long, twisted, wrong. The police said it was probably a prank, said she ran away, said she'd show up. She never did. They never found her, but I did. Not in the real world, not in any physical sense. But 3 nights later, the dream came again. The red door was open now. Ava was standing on the other side. Her face was pale, her eyes wide and terrified, like she hadn't slept in years. Behind her, in the dark, something moved. Something tall. She mouthed one word. Run. I haven't dreamed since. Not like that. But every night when I close my eyes, I hear footsteps under my bed. Slow. Careful. And just as I drift off, I hear my name whispered in a voice that never belonged in this world. And sometimes, I see the outline of a door in the dark. Story 3. I've always been a lucid dreamer. Since I was a kid, I could tell when I was dreaming. I'd control things, fly over cities, breathe underwater, walk through walls. It was fun, like having a secret world to escape into. But that changed last October. That's when the dream started, the one I couldn't control. The first night felt off from the beginning. I was walking through my old elementary school. Everything was faded, hollow, quiet. I knew I was dreaming, but I couldn't move the way I usually could. I tried to run, couldn't. Tried to change the location. Nothing happened. That's when I heard the phone. An old rotary phone ringing in one of the classrooms. Over and over, echoing through the hallway. It felt wrong. Familiar, but not in a good way. I followed the sound, opened the door, and there it was. Sitting on a desk. Black. Dusty. Vibrating with each ring. And something told me not to answer. Not in words. Just a feeling. But I did it anyway. I picked it up. A voice on the other end spoke my full name. My full name. Then my birth date. Then it said, "We found you." I woke up gasping. My heart felt like it was going to tear through my chest. My hands were shaking. My sheets were soaked. I laughed it off. Told myself it was just a weird dream. But then I saw it. On my nightstand. My phone was open to the call log. No number. Just, incoming call. Unknown. 3:14 a.m. I didn't answer it. I don't remember even hearing it ring. The next night, I told myself I'd sleep it off. That it was just stress. That I'd seen something online and my brain was playing tricks. But the dream came back. Same hallway. Same classroom. This time, the walls were peeling. The ceiling flickered with broken lights. I could hear the phone already ringing behind the door. This time, I didn't touch it. I turned and walked away. But it didn't matter, because when I woke up, the floorboards in my hallway were wet, just in one spot, like someone had been standing there. The dreams escalated fast. I started seeing people I didn't recognize. Faces with no eyes, mouths sewn shut, people walking backward. The phone kept ringing in every dream, no matter where I was. A beach, a gas station, my childhood bedroom. Always that same black rotary phone, and always the same phrase when I answered. "We found you." I tried staying awake, did everything. Energy drinks, caffeine pills, slapping my own face. But eventually, I'd nod off, and it would start again. Except now, it wasn't just in dreams. My apartment began changing. Little things at first. Pictures hung on the wall. Doors that didn't creak before started creaking. Lights flickering at the same exact time every night. 3:14 a.m. Just like the call log. One morning, I woke up with dirt under my fingernails. I checked my security camera, At 3:16 a.m., I was seen unlocking the door and walking into the woods behind my building. No shoes, no jacket, just walked in. I was gone for over an hour. When I came back, I was dragging something. The footage was corrupted after that. It's never played back properly since. I stopped sleeping. Completely. I stayed awake for nearly 3 straight days. I drank so much coffee that my stomach hurt. I sat in the shower with cold water running just to keep my eyes open, because every time I blinked too long, I could feel it pulling me back in. That ringing phone, that voice, that phrase, "We found you." It stopped sounding like a warning. It started sounding like a promise. Then the phone calls started coming during the day. Not in dreams. Real calls. Blocked numbers. Unknown. No caller ID. But the ringtone was different. Distorted somehow, like it was coming from underwater. And every time I answered, it was the same voice from the dream. Now louder, clearer, more confident. It said things I hadn't told anyone. What I was wearing. What I ate for lunch. That I hadn't locked the back door. I stopped answering, but the voicemails came anyway. My phone would buzz and I'd listen, and it would just be the sound of me breathing. My own breath, matched perfectly with the way I had exhaled just seconds before the call came. Like it wasn't someone watching, it was someone inside. I bought new phones, changed my number, got a new SIM card. Didn't matter. The calls kept coming. Sometimes they didn't even come through on the phone. One night, my television turned on by itself, just static at first. Then a voice said, "We're close now." The screen flashed white and showed my front door. Live. Someone was outside. But when I ran to check, no one was there. The next morning, I found a phone. Not mine. It was sitting on my pillow, glowing faintly. No lock screen, no apps, just a black background, and one message: "Don't hang up next time." I threw it out, smashed it, buried it, burned the pieces. That night, I had the dream again. Except now, I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by other people, all standing in the dark, frozen, whispering things I couldn't hear. And every single one of them had a phone pressed to their ear. Every single one turned to face me when mine rang. And in unison, they all said, "Answer him. M." I tried to run, but there were no doors, no windows, no light bulbs, no exits. Just the sound of the phone ringing and their eyes, wide and black, staring through me. The phone appeared in my hands. I dropped it. It floated, kept ringing. I covered my ears. The sound drilled through my skull. Then I woke up, or I think I did, because things haven't felt right since. My reflection lags behind me now. My shadow moves when I don't. I hear the phone ringing in other people's pockets. I see it in windows, in the corner of my eye, in places where phones don't belong. I see the people from the dream on the street sometimes, staring at nothing, mouth twitching, ear tilted like they're listening. And I know what they're waiting for. The final call, the last connection, the moment you pick up without thinking. Because it's not just a dream anymore, it's a door. And once you answer him, you don't close it. You join him